You are listening to Zetland FM, and what is your stress level just at this very moment? Just have a think about that. If you listen while you're in the car, chances are you are extremely stressed. Or if you're anything like me, you're extremely stressed. Is the air around you quite blue? Now, do you find it easy to deal with stressful situations like water off a duck's back, just dead easy? Or do you really let things and people grind you down? Well, tomorrow is Stress Awareness Day, and it is something which affects most of us, and some of us more than others. But how do you lower your stress levels and your happiness levels up? With us this morning is Kendall Aitken. He is a happiness coach, and I do love that phrase, happiness coach. Hello, what are you doing, filming?
Good morning. Lovely to see you. Yes, I was just seeing the beautiful day out of your window mostly. And my little daughter's here as well. Little daughter,
little River. How old is River?
River's 15 and a half months.
15
and a half, it's worth pointing out.
It is, 15 and a half months, absolutely. Now, I would imagine as dad to a 15 and a half month child, your stress levels are going to be fairly high. Would that be right?
No. Actually, it's I'm going to have a really great partner in the sense that we both kind of practice the same kind of philosophy, and we sicken most of our friends when we tell them that we have a child who sleeps 12 hours a night and
really
hardly cries at all and is very peaceful, and I don't know if it's up to us or down to us, but a lot of people keep saying it's to do with the atmosphere we create around us, and I really don't know if that's the case, but I mean, I haven't found it. One thing people keep saying to me before I had a child was, oh, you'll realise how hard it is. And I haven't found that at all. And I don't think my wife has either. I think it's been very, very enjoyable, much more fun than anyone ever led me to believe.
I think you give a lot of yourself, though, don't you, in that... You might smile, people smile, but I think there's a tension that you can probably sense from people, isn't there? Now, if you're quite a laid-back person, which you always seem to be, your partner is as well, then chances are River is going to feel that sort of, that relaxed atmosphere.
Yeah. And it's a very interesting thing you're pointing out there. Oh, there she is, speaking in the background. It's very interesting you're pointing out there because fundamentally I talk to people about being happy for themselves. And that's really important. It's what I call healthy selfishness, whereby you're actually putting yourself as the primary thing which you're aiming to enjoy your life, enjoy your pleasure. Happiness has a direct effect on you. Now, a lot of people will sort of say, yeah, but I can't do that. I've got jobs. People expect things. Well, I've got a child. You don't have a child. Now we got a child. I'm still doing it. I've got jobs. I've worked in jobs. I still managed to do it. People create a lot of excuses why they can't do it. The thing I was going to point out there is once you're doing it yourself, for yourself, not because you're trying to please your husband or your boyfriend or whoever it is, when you're doing it directly for yourself, it has the genuineness which you're talking about there. People can plant on a smile on their face, which is very different from genuinely feeling it in the vibration of themselves. But when you do it for yourself, you start recognizing how it's genuinely affecting people around you, and you're not doing it for them. That's a really important thing. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you, but the implications, the knock-on effects, are very strong to other people, I think. And a child does not listen to your words, they pick up your vibrations. They pick up what I mean by vibrations is your mood. They're much more in tune with your mood than with your words. And you can't cheat a child in terms of how you're feeling, essentially.
Now, it's interesting you say that, because we had a chap in last week from the Alzheimer's Society, and he was saying that when people are quite the way down, with dementia, they tend to forget why. They forget the event, but they remember the feeling. So if something was really good and they loved it and they enjoyed it, they can't remember why they enjoyed it. They just remember the enjoyment. And equally, if something bad happens, they feel the anger, they know about that, they remember that, but even though they don't know what the argument was about and that sort of thing. So that's quite interesting that about that sort of feeling.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, except yes, I agree with you.
Now, the thing is, you have the term happiness coach, and there must be people who just think, oh, that's just mumbo jumbo. How did you get to that point?
Well, I'm going to take a little bit of a step back there, because what I want to say, it was something which sort of came to me this morning, is that you, who is listening right now, you are very important. And you don't quite realise why you're important. And the reason why you're important is because you are focused enough to be listening to this. And the reason why I mention this is because all of my work is essentially about focus. It's about the idea of what is it that you are allowing into your consciousness. Now, I can talk about how I became a happiness coach. I have actually been on here before and talked about that. But I think far more interesting I want to bring across to people is that by listening to this, in my opinion, there is a very strong, what some people would call coincidence. And I would call it direct reason why you're in the path of listening to this radio station today. And let me tell you, I'm not paid to come on here. I come on here because I like to support people as much as possible. But there is no, in my view, there is no coincidence if you are listening to this right now. And what I'm going to tell you right now is that what your life is really all about, and this, you may think this may not change your life very much, but if you really get this on a deep level, you will see, and of course you could always come to me and ask for more about what I'm talking about, but you'll see that when you focus, you change your life. And that might sound a very small thing, and you may not quite get what I'm saying there, but essentially, your life is created by those parts that you notice. It is constructed. You're constructing a reality. Reality isn't one thing. You don't look out over a sea and all see the same thing. You look out over the sea, as I'm doing right now, and you notice different aspects of the sea. You notice whether the clouds are there. You notice whether the sea is rough. You also start constructing stories in your head about, oh, look, it looks cold out there. Or you may not. You may construct a completely different story of, wow, how beautiful are the waves. So what you're doing, whether you recognize it or not, is you are constructing a reality around you at all moments. Now, when you start recognizing this on a stronger level, you start being able to control what it is that you focus on. And by control, I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean it that you are able to focus only on the things which really feel good. Now, that to many people comes across as, oh, I'm avoiding the things which are actually genuinely harmful in the world. I'm avoiding all of the things. That's not actually the case. What you're doing is you are doing the best for yourself to begin with. So it's that healthy selfishness I was talking about earlier. You are creating the best well-being in yourself before you begin on any project. It doesn't mean you may not want to still help the unemployed or the homeless, but do it when you're doing it from a place of really loving, really feeling good about what you're doing. It's a very, very different experience from doing it from a place of, oh, I feel so terrible about them. I feel awful in myself that there's so much injustice. That's a very, very different experience. I don't know if I've answered the question. But
well, I suppose the interesting thing for me is that quite a lot of people who do jobs like that and do come through this door, they do get a lot of self-fulfillment, if you like, from helping other people. Yeah. It's not because they look at the injustice, they look at this is what I can do, I can be proactive and I can help. And then when they see the changes, see the positivity, that actually reflects back to them. So I don't know that there's particularly people are driven by that, the injustice of life.
Well, I think there is a big difference in those two people. Often there's the example of the person who's gone to work in Africa, and one's sitting there and they're both sitting right next to each other, and one's doing a job whereby they're so pleased to be there in Africa. They're really enjoying the company of the other people. The other person's sitting there and they're feeling terrible about the fact that they've had fortunes in their life and the other person hasn't. Now, the effect, the cultural effect of coming out with that kind of feeling is very different from the two people. I think the thing which I'm talking about here, which you're talking about, is when you balance your happiness based on what you are doing for someone else, you are on a very shaky ground.
Really?
Because it basically means the second you are not doing that for someone else, what have you got for yourself? So what I coach people about is how to sustain happiness within themselves, not based on what they're doing outside of themselves. What they're doing outside of themselves is secondary. So they're primarily building what I often call the inside job. You've got to make it so that everything you're sustaining in yourself is dependent on yourself. It is not dependent on the work you do or the help you're giving to your child or your husband, because sooner or later your child will be gone, your husband may be gone, your job may be gone, those people you're helping may be gone. So it's not a sustainable method of creating happiness.
That's an interesting thought. Well, we'll have a think about that, and when we come back, we'll talk about that in a bit more detail. It's the Blossoms and Blown Rose is what it's called. Just after 10:30, you're listening to Zetland FM. We're talking Stress Awareness Day, or at least we're sort of acknowledging Stress Awareness Day, which is tomorrow. But in a way, we're talking about happiness with happiness coach Kendall Aitken. Now, you mentioned there about that less about the external forces and more about the finding the happiness within you. Is happiness and stress connected?
Yeah, I think if you are focusing on what it is that you love and appreciate, you're not focusing on what it is that gets you stressed. I have a phrase which I use quite a lot, which is all stress and all anxiety comes from one place and one place only in terms of a time period. Can you guess where that is?
I don't know.
If we go past, present, future.
Oh, it'd be future.
It
Is
would
it
be future, exactly.
It's stuff that you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know whether it's going to happen.
But you've got expectations about the future. There's little baby River.
If you just tuned in, that's baby River, who's 15 months, and she's 15 and a half. 15 and a half. And she's gleefully looking out the window and burbling away.
Seeing the dog, it's one of her first words is doggy. She's kind of saying as she looks down.
Well, this is her first radio appearance, isn't it? Which is nice.
The beginning of her whatever she wants to do in her life.
Now, mentioning there about, and I said that while the music was on, you watch quiz shows, for example, and they'll say, oh, this, hello, who are you? And they'll say, oh, I'm Alan. And Alan, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Stockport. And what do you do? Oh, I'm an accountant. And so everything comes down to what you are as a profession. And some people really revel in the profession that they have.
Yeah.
What would be wrong with that?
Oh, well, I'm not here to say right or wrong. It's about choices, really, these things. But it's about recognising that if you base your
Can you just come a little bit closer?
You base your contentment, your well-being on what it is that you do, or being a mother or a father or a son. This is not going to sound popular because only a few people will get what I'm actually saying here. But if you base your contentment in life based on what it is that you do, and what I often call status, you are running the risk that when that status ends, i.e. your job ends, your relationship ends, your child leaves, that you no longer know how to discover your own internal happiness. And we can often do that through very large portions of our life. And then what can happen is right towards the end of our life, we run out of those status things. We run out of being a parent or working or whatever it is. And that's when people get really hit by, I don't know how to create my own happiness, because they weren't doing it through the rest of their life.
So how do you create your own happiness then? If it's not coming from external forces, how do you get it from within? Where do you find it from?
You essentially focus. It's all about focus, and that's why I said earlier, this is if you're listening to this, you're actually one of a very small amount of people who is listening to this. Is a local radio show, but I'm talking about something which only a few of you out there will actually get what I'm talking about. Your life is not a coincidence. Your life is happening due to what you choose to notice. I'll give you a very quick example. Darren Brown, as you all know from TV, he did a television program about the way in which people who consider themselves lucky will find that they create more luck for themselves. So he put £5 note down on the ground by a butcher's shop where the butcher didn't feel like he was lucky, and he didn't see it. He put £10 down, he didn't see it. He put £20 down, he didn't see it. He put the same note outside a place where the woman considered herself very lucky. She saw it straight away. We are creating our reality, our fortune, our experience through the focus of our minds. So if you focus on problems in your world, you will see problems. If you focus on looking out of a window and see it raining and go, oh, it's horrible, it's cold, it's not nice, you will experience that in your day. If you look out and go, it's raining, how fantastic, I'm going to really enjoy the rain today, I'm really going to enjoy, getting wet, or I'm really going to enjoy wrapping up nice and warm, you will have a totally different experience. So essentially, the answer to what you're talking about is focus. There's lots of other factors on top of it, because you then create momentum. Momentum being the idea that you've got used to looking at things in a particular kind of way, and you start building a resilience towards the things which may come along and knock you off that perch. It's not as if you're 100% feeling great all of the time. That's not the point of the happiness philosophy. Happiness philosophy is not that you're skipping around in, joyful, happiness all the time. It's what it is that you're trying to stay in the realms between calm and ecstatic. So you're in the happiness realms, and away from the unhappiness, essentially, if that doesn't sound like a tautology. You are keeping yourself in an area whereby you are feeling good about your life. And the more you do that, we are meaning-making machines, us human beings. We are pattern creators. And if you create a pattern and you do it for long enough, you'll find that that's just who you become. You look at people who have become drinkers or smokers. They never really plan to become addicted to smoking or drinking. They never, you look at people who are angry. They never plan to be angry people. They just done it regularly enough so that becomes who they are. And that's what I talk about with momentum. You see the same thing with people who, with myself or other people who I coach, that I coach them into patterns. It's not about doing something for 2 weeks or doing something for one day where you feel great for one day. It's about doing it regularly. It's about a daily practice. It's about building the patterns, building the focus upon what it is that you enjoy looking at. The essential secret to that is appreciation.
Now, you mentioned there about how you don't start out to be an addict to drink or to smoke. But actually, there's a physical thing of taking a cigarette out of a box, putting it to your mouth, and you get something from it. I'm assuming, I've never tried it, but I assume there's something about it that makes you keep going back.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's not something physical, if happiness is something that's it's internal, but you're talking about focus. So if it's not a physical entity, how do you build a habit out of that?
Well, the thing is that it's not physical. It's a combination. So what I do is I'm a health and happiness coach. So the health bit there is acknowledging the physical side of it. It's saying, if you eat rubbish food every day regularly, do not be surprised if you start getting ill. You are basically filling your body with junk. You will create blockages. If you want to be a happy person, get all of the factors working in your direction. So it's eat well, sleep well, do regular exercise. So it's essentially learning how to be relaxed. It's learning how to eat better, healthier food so your body feels better. And it's about exercise. So those are the basis. Before you start getting into the psychology side, you get the body into a respectful place.
Treat your body like a temple.
It's not about suddenly becoming a god. If that's what's being suggested there. It's about slightly improving and slightly improving and slightly improving. It's about knowing what are the steps towards better health and moving in that direction. And happiness is exactly the same thing. It's not something you turn on like a switch. It's something that you slowly turn the volume up on daily. Susan Jeffers, who I've been talking about lately, who's a writer who wrote the book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. She talked about saying, I'm a really well-renowned speaker and author and well-sold, but I can't stop from doing stuff daily. If I stop doing the practices I do daily, I can easily fall backwards because I will lose the momentum, what I built up. It's all about regularity. And to answer your question, it's a combination. It's not just the psychology, it's the psychology and the physicality combined, and you don't have to suddenly do it, you just do it incrementally.
So what am I focusing on? If just for a top tip, right, to set the ball rolling, what would you advise somebody to do today?
I would say, write down where you place yourself on a 0 to 10 scale on various factors in your life. Take eating, take exercise, take relaxation, and then start writing, okay, I'm here, I'm literally, I'm genuinely, honestly a 3 or a 4, and I'd like to be a 6 or a 7, right? The steps in order to get there, you know them. A lot of what I do is reminding people of what they already know. They know to cut down on the sugar in their food. They know not eat food which is full of that doesn't look like food, doesn't look like something that grows out of the ground. Start eating proper, healthy, organic vegetables. Stop eating sweets, stop eating that. They know that that's a step up. They also know that if they walk once a day on the beach, once a week, then make it 2 times a week or 3 times a week. They'll be stepping in that right direction. Psychologically, what it is again, it's about patterns, and it's about the pattern of saying, can you notice yourself where you are criticizing things in your life? Can you give yourself a score on how much you criticize things in life? Can you give yourself a score on how you would like to be? And what I mean by that is, if you notice that you criticize things a lot, then start switching the criticism to an appreciation. So here's an example right now where I'm sitting, I'm looking out over the sea, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, if I was out there, I bet it would be absolutely freezing. And that is a thought which is a critical thought, in that it's subtle and it's not massive. It's not having a massive effect on me, although lots of critical thoughts lumped together will have quite a strong effect on me. But if I can notice, okay, I'm being quite critical in that thought, I can now refocus my view and say, wow, look at the way the sun's hitting the beach there. It's looking fantastic. Wow, now I look out, I think, I bet it's really nice and warm standing out there in the sunshine. And immediately I've turned around one of the criticisms and I've made it an appreciation. I haven't had to change anything in the world. What I've done is change the focus upon which
What's
I'm
in your
using.
head?
Yeah.
What's in your head?
It's an inside job.
Absolutely. In fact, I did see that somewhere. That very quote was in front of my eyes this morning. I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but thanks so much for coming in. Go on.
Could I mention, we've got a group which is called Tantra. Now, I don't know if people know about Tantra. They might think of Sting and his 6-hour lovemaking sessions. Yes. It's not really about that. The reason I mention it really is because it's about human communication, largely. It's about people knowing themselves. So it has quite a link to the happiness stuff, because it's a very old, ancient technique, which is using the physical awareness of your body to become aware of who you are. So and just in terms of being able to use criticism and then change it to appreciation.
How can people seek you out anyway?
Well, the Earthbeat Centre is where we're doing it in Saltburn. So anybody who's locally, that would be a great place to start. You can catch me on, if you look on Talk of the Town, and I also write an article in there, it's happygreenblueeyes.co.uk is the website. But if you get in touch with the Earthbeat Centre in Saltburn, that's probably the best way. And just, have an open mind. And, it's not a coincidence that you are listening to this radio station right now. There are not many people who are, and you are a very special person simply because you're focused into what we're talking about today.
Thanks for that, Kendall. Hopefully we'll speak to you soon.
Great.